Erica,
Hi,
great to see you. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I'm so
Good.
excited to have you on today's interview and get to know you a little bit better and your story. And I'm very excited.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Cool. So let's dive right into it. I think
Okay.
it's always so great to have like different kind of stories of women because I don't know how you are in this like have been in this process up until now before you joined us, but seeing success stories or relating to someone definitely helps to be like, man, maybe I can do this too. Like it gives us some inspiration of like or aspiration to step into that future version that we are looking for to achieve. And so the first thing I would like to know is like, who's Erica? Like, what are you doing? How old are you? Where are you living? Like, what's kind of your day-to-day life?
Yeah. So I am 37. Sometimes I have to think about that. I'm 37. I have four kids. I live in the States. I'm in Utah. And I actually, professionally, I'm a registered dietitian. So I actually teach nutrition at a university. And I manage that work and then taking care of my family is young. All my kids are under the age of 13. So
So
that's day to
there's
day
like
for me.
a whole like tribe of kids that you
Yeah.
have with
It
four.
does feel like a tribe or a circus. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you are pretty busy with all of them, like keeping up with them. So, is that also something that has led you to get even into fitness at some point? Like, was fitness always part of your life, or did that came a little bit later?
Yeah. That's, I don't know. Do you want the long answer or the short answer? I feel like I
The
was
long,
always
the long.
interested.
I'm always for the
You're
long
in
answer.
long. I think there were several things that made me more interested in it. As a child, my dad was actually really into weightlifting and bodybuilding, and
Oh,
he would
cool.
talk about it all the time. And probably at the time that I was a child, he was swallowed up in life and career and not doing that as much, but it was something he talked about as being interested in it. So it was a conversation in my house. And I had relatives that were unhealthy due to lifestyle choices. And I really wanted to avoid that. I had I had a brother who, as a child, actually passed away from a childhood cancer. So
Okay.
health was something that we talked about a lot in our house. And kind of fast forward to my teen years, I ended up in a social circle where there was a lot of fad dieting talked about,
Hmm.
and I was doing fad dieting with people, and I even had, not personal experience, but I had people in those social circles who even ended up with like eating disorders and being hospitalized. And so um, I saw the extreme of taking maybe health or even just like body image concern too far,
Hmm.
right? So that led me to be really interested. That's why I chose to study nutrition in a university, because I just thought, what is, cut out the noise, I need to know what the facts are and how I can actually be in control of my
Hmm.
own health, how I look, and yeah, how I feel in life. And I really wanted to be in a healthy space, not only just physiologically, like physically healthy, but mentally healthy because of the
Hmm.
things that I'd seen. So that's why I studied that. And um, I I think I've always been interested just because it was part of maybe my family culture and what was talked
Hmm.
about.
But it's interesting because you could have also taken the other like opposite route of everything, right? Could also be like, oh, there is so much like restriction and negative things that are like correlating to like pursuing like healthy
Mhm.
goals of eating
Mhm.
healthier or better that end up in crazy restriction or very like unhealthy
Mhm.
behaviors. Like, what was it for you that got you like into I want to pursue even a career in that field.
Mhm.
Although I have seen it's like so many like bad things can happen out of it.
Yeah, I think, well, there was a particular girl that ended up hospitalized, I remember, and she actually had met with a dietitian in her recovery process and talked about how helpful and constructive that was for her. So that kind of is
Mm,
what made me aware of even that as a profession. And just this idea that I wanted to know and be certain and not feel pushed around. I feel like and that was even before social media existed. And
mm,
now with social media, I feel like there's so many opinions to sort through, right? So I think that's what made me pursue that as a career. And I think definitely in my educational process and my exposure, even professionally to eating disorders, there was a little bit of a pendulum swing. So whereas I may have been way more restricted with fad dieting in my teen years,
Mm.
I kind of went the other way, in the last 15 years of I'm just going to eat healthy and I'm not and really work on the relationship with food and my mind and loving myself at every stage, no matter what. And so I think, we talk about what were some of the big things I needed to overcome to be able to be pursuing a transformation
Yeah.
for myself. Some of those were mental things of saying, I can do this in a healthy way. And I can track my calories and I can focus on transformation and still be mentally and emotionally healthy at the same
Mm.
time.
I love that because I think this is oftentimes there is this, oh, it's so restrictive or so obsessive, or it's giving us too much like data and noise and those kind of
Mhm.
things. And it's just like pushing us into unhealthy behaviors.
Mhm.
Whereas I'm like, it can also provide a lot of like transparency and understanding and education and, being connected to things and understanding better like what's happening in the body. And I think
Mhm.
you are a great example of like how you can take something that has been kind of like a negative experience with these people, with this girl maybe around you at that time, but then seeing like how it helped her to get a nutritionist on board to help her like through the
Mhm.
recovery. Is
Yeah.
this like what kind of when it comes to like your professional life, like what are things that you're constantly um observing where you're like, oh damn, people like you, especially women, like you definitely need to get that right. Like, what is something that is like still blowing your mind or making you a little bit like, oh gosh, is this still a
Yeah.
topic?
Yeah. Well, I teach in the university, they're young adults. So a lot of times they're students who just left the house for the first time and
Hmm.
they have very little awareness of what they're eating. So that's always surprising to me, just in our conversation with body transformation, calorie content or what actually makes up a food. We're talking about macronutrients, but also vitamins and minerals, and their ability to understand how important it is to eat more whole foods that are nutrient dense. Nutrient density is usually a new concept for them.
Hmm.
And they don't know how to take care of themselves yet. So that's what I work a lot with is giving them a paradigm for how to get back to eating more whole fresh foods and a lot of times making that simple because they don't need to be complex and they don't have the skills to do that yet. So that surprises me. It also surprises me when we're talking about peers my age, how I don't know how easy it is to be pushed around by ideas on the internet, and
Hmm.
it sometimes is surprising to me that I guess it's not surprising because I've been there, but it's just more sad that we feel like like you in your story. I heard a lot of myself the trying all of the things
Hmm.
till you could find the right answer. And so that's what I feel the most, I don't know, saddened by that it's just not more clear for people because it is simple. And I love your process. I love the way that you help people find what they need to do and fall into that groove because once you do it and once you build those habits, it actually is less of a burden on the mind
Hmm.
and less of an emotional burden. It actually does become easier because there's so much clarity.
Hmm.
Applying the science is actually simple. I think our headspace and the concerns we have make it more complicated.
Yeah, 100%. I see that. But I also like that you said that you're helping younger adults to kind of like set them up or have like a better like transition phase from being at home to then
Mm-hmm.
like being being on their own. It also sounds a little bit like parents are maybe not, I'm not blaming parents. I'm not a parent, right? But parents are maybe also so confused, and that's why what we are seeing a lot with the women, or why we want to work with so many women
Mm-hmm.
worldwide, is, or the mission is to have or educate also more mothers, right? Because we have seen so many mothers just passing on their
Mm-hmm.
strange eating behaviors, like
Mm-hmm.
to their children, to their daughters, and then the kids are growing up that way, right? And so it kind of, yeah, it leaves a mark on those children than growing up and maybe from a very young age pursuing fat loss goals, dieting, fat
Hmm.
diets, eating less, watching
Hmm.
like every calorie in every element, turning it
Hmm.
around. So I really like that you are kind of in this transition phase before someone is like growing up, becoming a little bit more independent to kind of find
Hmm.
their own way of doing things,
Right.
making it
Yeah.
simpler and maybe
Yeah.
unlearning stuff they have learned at home until we are maybe hopefully at some point have a generation that is, yeah, using nutrition in way simpler ways than we do it now. I hope so. That's kind of
Yeah.
like the mission I think you're also after is like bringing more simplicity into the
Mhm.
whole nutrition space.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. What have like brought you then to pursuing specifically body transformation goals, also going specifically into macro tracking, dialing that piece in? Like, what have you done before you joined us?
Yeah. So s- maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I my youngest baby's 5, so that fits timeline, right? Like I had had 4 children. There had been weight gain during those years, like back and forth. And I wasn't feeling healthy. I was having some high elevated blood lipids. I was having some heart problems. I had lots of aches and pains. And I just thought, I always had envisioned my adult future self as a very fit person. So it came to the point where I thought, this is not really where I want to be unless something changes. That's not going to happen for me. And so I actually started going to group fitness classes and was doing a lot of aerobics because I think a lot of the prevailing idea, I'm not an exercise scientist, and a lot of the prevailing idea, like at least in my childhood and teen years, whether informed or not, was that cardio was queen. And I think, you have some you can relate to that, pursuing that. And so anyway, I went to a lot of these high intensity aerobic classes, and we totally wiped out and working so hard, but my weight did not budge for like 6 months. And that was frustrating. And I had this, when we talk about mental hurdles, I had this mental hurdle that um, it was probably somewhere around 1,800 calories that I felt like I should be able to lose weight at that amount. And that if I ate less than that, I wouldn't be healthy. That I wouldn't be healthy physically, I wouldn't get the nutrients I needed, and then it would be because I'd be so hungry that I'd become too obsessed and that it would put me in an unhealthy space. So I was kind of almost angry. Like I was really rigid about it. Like I am not going to eat less than that. That's not a
Yeah.
good choice for me. And so after doing all like 6 months to a year of that, working out really hard in the gym and just trying to eat healthy and eat a little bit less and not having any changes physically, I'm sure I had aerobic changes, but like physically, I wasn't seeing anything. I just said, well, I am legitimately a scientist. I should be approaching this more mathematically. And so I actually did at that point 3 years ago my own discovery phase. I tracked what I ate for
Hmm,
2 weeks. I
cool.
found that I was maintaining around 1,800 calories, maybe a little bit more. And I thought, well, duh, like the math, I'm not going to lose weight if this is what I'm eating while I'm maintaining.
Yeah.
So around that time, I had a friend that invited me to do like a health accountability challenge with her friends and family, where basically you just checked in every day on your goals.
Hmm.
And so I just set a goal to eat, I set 1,400. I was just aiming in the dark. I knew my maintenance was around 18. And I set that goal, and I didn't set a protein or anything goal. I just had calories, and I just said, I'm going to walk for a half an hour a day. That's all I'm going to do. And I lost weight. And I had never successfully lost weight like that before, as predictably. And so that for me was a huge moment of this is doable. I can totally do this. But I learned after the challenge that accountability was huge for me because as soon as the challenge ended, I stopped tracking and my weight mostly maintained, but just over years. And when hard periods would come up, like at work, where I'd have 6 minute, 6 months of like
Hmm.
crunch time at work, my weight would climb because I would make meal prepping and planning and even just like basic stuff, right? And walking, all of those were not prioritized.
Hmm.
So I did several challenges like that over the last 3 or 4 years. And so this year, I did one in January and brought my weight down 8 pounds from a high that I was at. And I thought, "Ugh, if I really want to change, 8 pounds is not enough. it was not enough to actually make, I mean, I felt good about that where I was, but it wasn't actually getting me to my end goal. I really needed a coach to help me get out of my head so I wasn't making the decisions for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would ruminate on these ideas. Maybe I change this, maybe I change that, back and forth. And I needed somebody to say, no, this is all you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed that accountability long term, not just to push me further through weight loss, but also like a structured build. I don't necessarily, I have enough background in the gym to know the basics, but not enough to really make physique changes and strength improvements. And then and feeling like, yeah, I had people who knew what I was doing. I do really good when I have the external accountability. I want to live up to those expectations. And so I just knew that when I was listening to your podcast and seeing your content, not only did you, like, physically, you had achieved what I was hoping that I would always achieve, but you worked with so many women and done the same thing. So visually, I could see that. And then listening to you talk on the podcast, both you and on it, just the expertise and the nuance of what you understood, and that it was so grounded in solid science, but also emotionally and mentally healthy. It was all the pieces for me. And I thought, this is the perfect time of my life to finish this cycle, and continue on with the cycle with the guidance that I can't do by myself. Like, I've proven I can't do it by myself. I've tried for a few years and I need help.
Well, I think it's good to have those experiences as well, right? To do it on your own, to then find out what are the missing pieces. Otherwise,
Mhm.
you would have joined us in the past or maybe earlier, but maybe you would not have clicked the same way it
Right.
clicks now because now you understand, or you were at a point when you joined us where you understood that this is a more like longer term planning strategy thing to really, it's almost like building a house and having an architect like designing it and then making sure the foundation is there and then building and then making the interior. And this is how I like to think about the body transformation process, because
Mhm.
it's definitely more than just losing a couple of pounds. Like, how do you really
Mhm.
reshape the body and make sure that you are maintaining that with great health mentally and physically? Do you
Mhm.
remember the moment before you joined us? Like, what was going on in your life where things were like, oh, let's try this out?
Well, so I had finished I think I did, like, it was 6 or 8 weeks. It had started in January of that challenge. And then I think I joined in the end of April. So there was a month or two where I was left to my own devices and not being consistent with tracking, and just realizing I need to make a decision. I need to find something. And so I was looking at several different options, and yours was definitely the most comprehensive, like, holistic approach that I thought, really, this is the perfect solution.
I'm glad you joined us. I think you messaged me even with an, was it an email? You wrote me an email like
Yeah.
before the program, and I was
Yeah.
like, I was looking at the other option, and I was like, this is so far from us. Like there was
Yeah.
such a like
So,
huge difference. I was like, if she's thinking about this or like us, then I don't understand where she's currently at because
yeah.
it was so
I
different.
think the person that I was looking at, she will do several programs a year and you choose which one you want for your phase. And
Yeah.
so it's similar, but it was just that this idea that you would build your own year, build, your own phases out, and, like, kind of pick from her menu of options. And so, yeah, choosing you, like I said, it was an easier choice for the mental game because it was less decision on my part. It was
Mhm.
trusting that you, through all of your experience, would know the right thing to do, when to do it, and that I didn't have to be figuring that out on my own.
And looking back, like the last couple of months, what happened for you so far?
Yeah, so since January, I've lost 20 pounds, which is a
Huge.
lot. I'm not done, but so I lost 8 on my own, and then I've lost the rest with you. And honestly, I the last few years, I just to give you some examples of numbers, I've hovered around 135. I'm 5'2". And I hadn't seen like 128 was the low I had 8 years ago. So when I crossed that moment with you guys, like I went down below 135, which is something I hadn't done on my own. I crossed 128. The next weight that was going to be like a milestone weight for me was 124, which is where I was in young adulthood before having kids, and I'm below that. And so I think the next big hurdle for me in my mind that you helped me solve even early on was just the idea of what is even possible for me. And so in my family, my mom and my sister, they're also 5'2" and they are a very slight build.
Hmm.
And I've always had more muscle than them. And I just always thought genetically, I'm not ever going to be very lean. I just thought for me, it wasn't even possible. And for a long time, because of the assumptions that I had, I thought people are either genetically lean or they're starving themselves in an unhealthy way to get there. That was where my mind was. And so I needed to get over that hump to think, no, I actually can achieve that. And your story was a perfect inspiration for me because it was so similar in that you thought you couldn't get below a certain
Yeah.
number in a good way. And so that really helped me. And anyway, so having this vision of this is possible and this is what it will look like, and being able to say, yeah, I want that for myself. And that this is how long it's probably going to take and what it's going to look like.
Does
So
it?
what has it done for me? All those things. It's pushed me to low numbers, but also I feel like my shape has changed significantly. I said earlier on when I got to those weights that I had seen earlier in my life, I thought I would recognize my body, but I don't because because
Yeah.
the weightlifting is huge in transforming, and I'm so happy with my shape. Um, and I like it's exciting to see that progress in the gym with strength. Like I don't ache as much anymore. There are many times I will have to do something like yard work or lift a child or something, and I think, wow, this is easier than it used to be. Or I have to sprint after somebody and run up a flight of stairs, and I'm not winded at the top. Those are just little things in life that I'm so grateful for.
I love that you said that it kind of helps you to tap more into your potential or like get hungry for more. Because
Hmm.
oftentimes when we're doing things on our own and we on our own, we might not get to the point where we are breaking through and reaching that next kind of level because it definitely takes a little bit of like a little nudge sometimes from someone from the outside that is like, yeah, you can do that. Like it's
Yeah.
definitely it's possible. Like why not? And then
Right. I
we
totally agree. Even as something as simple as, you can do another rep in lifting, and then, a little bit more complicated of, no, you can push yourself for this transformation and you can stick in this longer.
Yeah, and also when it comes to transforming your body, seeing it as like, oh, this is not just maybe one fat loss phase. Maybe at some point I need a second one to then be able to stay at a weight where you feel like having really that maintenance body. I always like to call it like that because ideally we want to build a body you can comfortably live in, be happy, have a little bit of
Hmm.
wiggle room, look
Hmm.
amazing and sexy in your skin, right? All of those things without obsessing over like every bite
Yeah.
that you can maintain for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I agree.
So this is where we are helping you to get to. What are
Yeah.
your next steps actually? Like you said you lost the 20 pounds this year, 8 on your own and then 12 with us. You said you
Mhm.
are not done yet. What is like going on
Well,
in your
based
life?
on, I loved you had shared in the club just the transformation had looked like for several women, and at various heights and things in life, and that really helped me create a visual. And I think I probably need to lose 10 to 12 more to get there, to be closer to 110, 112. Which
Mhm.
I'm kind of smiling because I remember all my life my mom was like around that weight or below, and I just thought I'm never going to be like this, but she's so slight. So it'll be interesting for me to be there in this place I didn't think I could ever get. So I think I have that. And then Yannick talks about just the value of living in maintenance and how it's such an important stage. And I definitely see that because I've not successfully done it before. And so I'm looking forward to a long, maintenance before a build, and maybe working up the courage for a build just changing my perspective, and doing it well, like you teach. And anyway, so that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I think I'll probably have a couple, 2.5 more months of where I am with loss and then maintaining for a while.
You will enjoy it. Like if you can, it's definitely you need to get a hang of the maintenance part, of course, because you are
Mhm.
then not having this very day-to-day feedback of like things going on the scale and being like, woo, and putting in the work, and then I see the scale drop, and like it's a very
Mhm.
short-term like feedback
Mhm.
loop
Mhm.
that is nice. You're doing the work and you're getting things back. But if you can shift your focus to, oh, now I'm actually, and I'm sure you like over the last couple of months you improved your strength as well, right? And the performance in the gym, although you are in a fat loss phase.
Mhm.
Now imagine having that with proper fuel, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where that goes.
So I'm always like, if you can shift your focus to then performance and like what your body can do, that's the best thing like to tap into during that phase. It
Yeah, I
it,
love that.
it
And
always
you worked with me on like RDLs, which I had already written off as I couldn't do it because of back pain. And so I'm just excited to see those things that challenge those assumptions even more.
I'm very, very curious to see where this is all going for you. Like after this fat loss is over next 2 months, then a reverse diet and then sitting at maintenance and just also enjoying the new body that you have created, right? It's a new standard for yourself. And then just having that maintenance phase to really lock it in and enjoy what you have built for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, maybe having new clothes, going shopping. I don't know what you're
Yeah. I
what
mean, already I've done that and I am enjoying it. And I was just thinking, I think in another 12 pounds, I'm going to have to go shopping again. But I'm already enjoying it and I'm sure I will enjoy it even more. I'm so excited for that.
cool. I love that. What would you say to Erica 3 years ago, who's maybe on the fence, maybe not, maybe she's trying things out on her own? Um, uh, when she's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about joining, but I'm unsure if this is
Mhm.
the right fit." Like, who would you say Women's Strength Society is for or not for, or what would you tell your younger self?
That's such a good question. I think it's not for people who feel like they need a scripted meal plan, which in my personal and
Mhm.
professional experience doesn't work. It's not sustainable for people. It's not flexible enough. It's definitely for people who are ready to learn how to make changes that can adapt, that you can have structure and a plan, but that it's something that's going to be so long term and it's not a quick fix. I don't feel like 20 pounds over this many months is not necessarily quick. Some people go on crash diets, they lose that quicker, but then they rebound. And so this is something that will be more permanent, which I think is huge. I mean, who doesn't want changes that actually last? So somebody who's willing to put in that time. And I think that somebody who feels, I would guess it's all people, but my personal experiences, something like the community, joining you specifically, getting that community that has constant content of people overcoming challenges and what their successes look like. It's the best kind of social media feed that keeps you on track. And so it feels um it feels good to have that accountability. I know that works for me. And I know that work can work for a lot of people. And then of course your and Yannick's experiences with coaching and living that will simplify, like I said, the decision making in the process for so many people that you'll save time joining the club than you will do trying to do it on your own or trying to piece together things on your own from other sources. For a while I thought maybe I can just listen to the podcast and do this on my own because you have so much great content. And all the information is there, but the actual application of it and sticking to it, I think the community and your coaching is invaluable.
Thank you for your words.
Yeah.
It's great to have you as part of the community. It was great to like get to know you, your little background story. I didn't know a lot of that, like the early early years and what actually brought you to pursuing your current career. I think that's amazing. I hope you can help so many more like young adults with the
Mhm.
nutrition piece. I think nutrition has such a huge impact on how we live and think and act, like make decisions in life. Being better fueled definitely makes a big change, also in
Mhm.
mood and motivation and all those things. So
Yeah,
I'm like, go for it, Erica, and I'm definitely rooting for you in this next 2 months of fat loss,
thank you.
and then helping you out with the reverse, and then enjoying the maintenance life and just going after some cool strength numbers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Bye
See ya.
bye.
Bye-bye.